And I think we all have goals and dreams. I want to lose weight. I want to make more money. Well, are you committed to whatever it takes at a level you've never been committed before? Because that's the thing, is to take your life to the next level, you have to be committed.
Why did most of them get up between 4 and 6? It's because it is the single best time in the history of humanity and the world and the day to think.
A person must value themselves in order to invest in themselves.
There's only one person who can stop you from being in the top 20%. Now, who would that be? And the whole audience gets it instantly. They point to themselves. It would be me.
When I have people work on their creativity, their spirituality wakes up.
I learned something in my sales training called the 5-minute rule, which said when it's okay to be negative, but not for more than 5 minutes. When something goes wrong, you literally set the timer on your phone for 5 minutes,
Yep.
and you get 5 minutes to moan, complain, cry, and then after 5 minutes is up, I learned that since you can't change it as an intelligent human being, there's no reason to put yourself through misery and suffering by wishing you could change something that you can't change. And so I applied that to to the accident. And that was the greatest lesson that I learned, is that when we accept the things we can't change, it enables us to be at peace with those things. I started telling jokes and laughing and all this. The doctors called my parents in and they said, "We think Hal's in denial. It's not normal for someone to be all happy-go-lucky like he is. We believe he is delusional and he's in denial."
Oh, no.
And so my dad was concerned. My dad came to me that day, and I didn't know the conversation happened with the doctor, but my dad explained the whole thing and their concerns. And I looked at my dad, and he was like on the verge of tears. The whole thing was emotional as a parent. And I said, "Dad, I thought you knew me better than that. I'm not, the doctors thought I was depressed, and that was the real truth that I had to get uncover." I said, "Dad, I can't change that I was in a car accident, but I get to choose my attitude." I said, "I can either be miserable while I recover, or I can be grateful while I recover. I can be, sad, or I can be happy. I can be angry, or I can be excited about what's possible for the future." And the last thing I said is I told my dad, I said, "Dad, there's only one of two possibilities. Number one, the doctors are right, and I will never walk again. And I've already decided if that's the case, then I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair." I said, "But the second possibility, so I have accepted the worst case scenario, so I'm not worried about it."
Go into the worst case scenario, play it out, and then you don't have a demon lurking over there. You already know what it is.
Yeah. And accept it. Go, if that is the worst case scenario, how will I make the best of it, right? And for me, I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair. And then the last thing I told my dad is the other possibility, Dad, number two, is I will walk again. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't happen, but guess what? That's what I want, so all my energy goes into that. And that was the greatest lesson. You accept all the things you can't change, and you don't put any more energy. Once you've accepted the worst case scenario, you don't put energy into worrying about it or stressing about it. You take all of that energy and you put 100% of it into, this is what I want. I'll accept the worst, but I'm going to expect the best. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to dwell on it. I'm going to pray about it. Whatever your process is, that's where I'm going to put all of my energy. And if it doesn't happen like I want it to, I've already accepted the worst. So it's not this, I'm not going to be defeated or depressed or distraught or even caught off guard, because I already knew that was possible. That didn't work out, but I'm going to make the best of that. I've got a vision for both. The outcome was this, and I don't think this is a coincidence, in terms of the power of positive thinking. I don't think positive thinking solves all your problems, right? If we sit here and meditate on our bank account balances growing, they'll probably stay the same. But I do believe positive thinking puts you in a peak physical, mental, and emotional state, and by focusing on what you want, not what you don't want, and therefore it allows you to solve your own problems in the most effective and efficient possible way. So 3 weeks after the crash, after my leg broke in half, 2 weeks after I came out of the coma, the doctors came in with routine x-rays and they said, "We don't know how to explain this, but your body is healing so quickly, we're going to let you walk tomorrow." So
3 weeks.
Yeah, it went from never walking again to 3 weeks later, and I took my first step that day, and then I was out of the hospital a month later, and I was back to work, in sales and breaking records, like, I think 8 months after the accident. For most people on the planet, this is a reality that needs to hit us at some point. And sometimes it does, and we don't do anything about it. Sometimes it never hits us. We're not aware. We're not thinking about it. But anyone watching or listening, the reality was I had never fulfilled my potential. I'd been with the company for 5 years. I'd broken a bunch of records, but it was easy for me to fulfill my potential for 2 weeks and break a 2-week sales record, right? Break maybe a month, break a month record. But then I would have a bunch of money and I'd be lazy until I ran out of money. Then I'd have to work again. And so I realized I've never actually maintained the discipline to give it a full year of my full effort. And I thought, if I leave this company, you know, and we can say that if I leave this day, right, having not fulfilled my potential, who knows when I ever will or if I ever will. When I ended the year, I could be able to end it and go, that, you know, I gave it everything. I've never in my life worked so hard. And, you know, I have a mentor that taught me when I first told him I wanted to break this company record when I was brand new. I had never sold anything. I just was going through training. I go, dude, I want to break the record. And he goes, Hal, I hear that all the time, but nobody's ever willing to be committed to do whatever it takes. And I think we all have goals and dreams. Oh, I want to lose weight. I want to make more money. Well, are you committed to whatever it takes at a level you've never been committed before? Because that's the thing, is to take your life to the next level, you have to be committed to do what it takes at a level you've never been committed before. Because if you were committed before, you would already been there and had those results, you know? So, and I decided I'm going to double my effort every day, make twice as many calls as I've ever made. And it was a really up and down year. Halfway through the year, I wasn't even halfway to my goal, not even close. And it ended up, when the year ended, it was the last week of the year, the week between Christmas and New Year's, and you know, that I had to give it my all. And that's the worst week to work. Nobody wants to see a salesperson, you know. And anyway, so ended up, I achieved, I hit my goal, and that was the year I wrote my first book that you mentioned, Taking Life Head On. I kind of did it all in 1 year, and the one thing that made the biggest difference for me that year was I got an accountability coach. I had it for the first time in my life. I had accountability every week, every day for the entire year, and that got me to do the things that I otherwise, you know, might have procrastinated on. I have fear, self-doubt, insecurity all the time. Like the Miracle Morning, I wanted to write it. It took me 3 years, and it was my top goal for 3 years, and I failed 3 years in a row. I didn't do it. I didn't know if I was good enough writer. I didn't think people were gonna like it. I thought, who am I to talk about morning rituals? I didn't invent this, you know? So just for anyone listening, if you have fear and self-doubt, don't let those determine whether or not you achieve your goal. I think that's a big difference. Is unsuccessful people, or people that haven't yet achieved success and fulfilled their potential, they allow their emotions to dictate their actions. Whereas successful people, they ensure that their commitments dictate their actions. It's like, well, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because I have to achieve my goal. I don't feel like doing it, but I'm going to do it. I'm scared to do it, but I'm going to do it. That is literally, if I had to say there's one difference between successful people and those that are wishing they could be more, that's the difference, is they simply do what they must do to achieve their goals, regardless of whether or not they feel like doing it. And he said, Hal, you don't need business advice. I said, what do you mean? He goes, there's 2 things you need to do every day that you're not doing right now. You need to exercise every morning, put yourself in a peak physical, mental, and emotional state to start the day. And he said, while you're exercising or directly after, listen to or read self-help. Get a business book on growing your business, making money while you're on, listen to an audiobook while you're on the run to, be efficient with your time. Or if you don't want to listen to an audiobook, if you prefer to read, as soon as you get home, go right in and sit down and read for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. And he said, that will enable you to develop yourself into the person that you need to be to achieve the thing, improve your business. And I didn't like the advice. I was like, no, tell me how to set up a website and get, you know what I mean? Is there really a need for the Miracle Morning amongst all the other books out there? I realized get up early is something almost every successful person does or says, right? Robin Sharma, get up early. Tony Robbins, get up early. Darren Hardy, get up early. All these people, but they always say it in the midst of dozens of other lessons, right? It's a chapter in a book. And if you're reading a 12-chapter book and one of them's on get up early and you have a limiting belief that says, I hate getting up early, I'm not a morning person, then you're going to do everything but that one thing. So I realized there's no one's come out with a book that's really pointed out this isn't just one thing that you might consider amongst your arsenal. It's the single most important determining factor in how you live every day, which determines how you live every week, month, year, and where your life ends up. And that's it. I mean, Eben Pagan, one of my mentors, Tony Robbins was interviewing him, and he said, the most important thing, I'm paraphrasing, but the most important thing you can do to take your success to the next level is create a morning success ritual. It's the thing that creates your mindset and the context for the rest of your day. So you win the morning, you win the day. And so long story short,
yes.
I decided, I went home, I actually went beyond I went for my first run, and I realized this philosophy of I've got to become more. And then what happened was I had an epiphany. I thought, what if, instead of just waking up and exercising and reading, what if I researched what do the world's most successful people do every day for personal development? What if I found out what the best of the best in personal development practices were, and I did them in the morning all at once? And I ended up doing this research. I had a list of 6, and I thought, okay, maybe I should do 3 of these. There's a lot. And then it hit me. What if I did all 6? Yeah. The next morning I woke up, I did all 6, and the rest is really history. It was that morning where I was $50,000 in credit card debt. My house was a few months away from being taken away. When I looked in the mirror, I saw the most out of shape, unhealthy person I'd ever been in my life, and I was depressed. And that morning I lit the flame, and I went, if I start every day like this, it's only a matter of time before my whole life changes. And the last thing I'll say on this is I had no idea how fast it would happen. In fact, that's why it became the Miracle Morning. It didn't start that way. It was less than 2 months from doing my first Miracle Morning, or my first morning, ritual. I more than doubled my income. Michael, I went from being in the worst shape of my life to deciding I was going to run a 52-mile ultra marathon, and I started training for that, and completed it months later. And I went from being deeply depressed to the most fired up, like you said, I had ever been. And because my life changed, 2 months, my whole life transformed. And I went, it feels like a miracle, like I can't believe how fast it's happened. And now I'm in awe to say that we have close to 100,000 people that do the Miracle Morning every day, and they're losing a lot of weight. They're making, I know this, I'm not like, it's not hype, like they're literally, it's amazing how people are changing their lives. The savers are the 6 practices that I, the first day that I just found them by Googling what do successful people do for personal growth, development, etc. And these were the 6 that like just crisscrossed, this is the 6 that everyone did. But at first I almost dismissed them, Michael, because our culture, and I'm guilty of this, we're conditioned to want what's new, cutting edge, never heard of that before, happens faster, quicker, and I'm going, these are like practices that are older than dirt. These are like, these are hundreds of years old. I'm like, I wanted like the new app that would, right? And I almost dismissed it, and then it hit me. This is what the world's most successful people have done since the beginning of time for personal development to be successful.
Aristotle, Plato, Einstein.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't do any of these, or I'm not doing these consistently. But then the real epiphany was, what if I did all of them? What if I did all 6 of them? And so these savers, the first S is for silence. And that could be prayer, it could be meditation. For me, it's a combination of both. But meditation is something that I thought was kind of just a spiritual practice, which I'm a very spiritual person, but I had never meditated. And I didn't think it was for success or productivity. And then I found all these articles from, I found a quote from, what's his name? He's a billionaire hedge fund manager, Ray Dalio. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing again, I don't know the exact quote, but he said, meditation is the number one key to his financial success.
Wow.
So not as spiritual success, as financial success. And then I go, well, I got to try meditating. I found this article on CEOs that meditate every day for peak mental performance and discipline. And I'm going, I never realized it was the science behind it, right? So I think I got to start with meditation. And then I researched affirmations. And affirmations have a really bad name. I think people have been taught to lie to yourself, and that's not the most effective way to do affirmations. It's like you say one of 2 ways. Either you lie to yourself, you go, well, if you want to be a millionaire, just say you're a millionaire over and over until you believe it. You go, I'm a millionaire, right? And your subconscious is smart. It's like, you're lying. No, you're not.
Yep. And
the other way that affirmations are taught is passive language. Like, money flows to me effortlessly while I sit on the couch, right? No, it doesn't. And so the way that I teach affirmations and all of the savers in the book are results oriented and practical. So here's an example of a financial affirmation that's been taught over the years. Either you say, I'm rich, I am wealthy, and you're not. Or, if you're not. And then the other is to say, money flows to me effortlessly and in abundance. And that creates a passive mindset. You finish your affirmations, you feel great. You're like, wow, Money's showing up soon.
Run to the mailbox.
Yeah, you get addicted to the practice, but you're not actually doing anything. So, the way that I teach affirmations, here's the example of how all the savers are kind of practical. I teach you your affirmation should first articulate exactly what you want. What's the goal? What's the result? What's the dream? What's ideal for you? What do you want that you're committed to?
And with specificity.
Yeah, exactly. Not I want to be wealthier, but I want to. In fact, I actually change it from don't phrase it I want. It's I'm committed to. I am committed to earning $200,000 in the next 12 months, right? So that's what you want. But if you ended there, great. You just want it. That doesn't do anything. Then it's, first of all, why do you want it? Or second of all, why do you want it? So you really reinforce what are the compelling benefits, and you affirm these every day. So you know how you set a goal and then you literally forget about it until the end of the year sometimes, and you go, oh, I forgot I wanted to do that. Well, when you affirm every day, not only what you want, but you reinforce why you want it, why it's a game changer for you, why it's so important, then you're the motivation to do it, the desire, your flame, the fanning the flames. And then maybe most importantly, or equally important, is when will you do that? When are you committed to doing that thing? What do you need to do? And when are you committed to doing it? And so it's like, I'm committed to earning X amount of dollars or to writing a book because I want to change millions of lives. Therefore, I am committed to writing every morning from 6 a.m. until 7 a.m., an average of 5 to 7 pages a day until I publish the book, right? So this is universal for every goal, and you apply it, right? So again, I'm going in detail. I'm very, by the way, affirmations, if you can't tell, are my favorite part of the miracle. So the V is for visualization, and kind of similar. It's taught, visualize what you want, but then you just go back about your day. It's like, no. Visualize what you want, then visualize yourself taking action that day with power, purpose, enjoyment, even if it's something you hate. He wrote himself a check for $10 million, and in the memo he put for acting services rendered. And then he set a date. And, and it is sometimes magic the way that there are miracles that happens. But I think it was, I don't remember how many months before the date that he got his role in Dumb and Dumber and got a check for $10 million. But that's where it starts with the vision, but then you got to visualize yourself doing the things that will get you there, That
makes sense.
When I hated running and I wanted to run an ultra marathon, I hated running. So instead of when 7 a.m. rolled around, it was time to run, going, well, an hour earlier, I had visualized myself getting my running shoes on at 7 a.m. and then heading out the front door, and I saw a smile on my face, and I created the feelings of enjoying that run. So I saw myself doing what I wanted to do, what I had committed to do, but what I was likely to procrastinate or avoid because I didn't like it. I created the emotional enjoyment of doing it in my mind so that when the alarm said 7 a.m., that emotion came back and I went, oh yeah, I'm going to go lace up my running shoes and smile as I head out the front door. So exercise, the scientific benefits of morning exercise, you get blood and oxygen to your brain, you release endorphins, you think clearer, you feel better, you have more energy throughout the day. So I'm not saying that you trade in your gym time or whatever you do. I'm saying that you spend as little as Robert Kiyosaki does, 3 minutes of exercise. In fact, there's a whole chapter in the book on 1 minute exercise. 1 minute of jumping jacks in the morning will increase your energy and your awareness and your thought, your clarity like tenfold. It's 1 minute, right? So that morning exercise is crucial. The R in Savers is for reading, and I don't mean like Harry Potter or 50 Shades of Grey. But reading self-help books, right? Books on the topics that you want to improve. One of the truest quotes ever spoken by Jim Rohn is you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And most people don't really give that much attention. They hang out with whoever they hang out with. And for me, I have friends that used to be close friends. They're still close friends now, but I keep them at a distance. We don't hang out as often because, I love them, but they weren't, you've got to surround yourself with people that are going to help you become the best version of yourself. The final S is for scribing, and scribing is a fancy word for writing, aka journaling. My favorite form is the 5-minute journal, and you can find it at 5minutejournal.com. I'm not affiliated with them, but I'm a huge fan. And so the last thing I'll say on this is that you take all these practices and they are what the world's most successful people do for personal development, but they only do 1 or 2 or maybe 3 at the most typically. Robert Kiyosaki himself said, before the Miracle Morning, no one had ever done all 6 of these in one ritual, and that's why, you know, he does it every day. And I think that's what makes the Miracle Morning so results oriented, so quick. Like, you're doing everything you could do to take yourself to the next level, and people see really quick change in their life. You know, focus on who you're becoming rather than just what you're doing. I think that's the big, you know, our society's conditioned to think if we want more, we have to do more. And often people think they're lazy, they don't do it. The real secret to success is don't focus on doing more as much as you focus on becoming more. And when you dedicate every day, that's the essence of the Miracle Morning. You wake up and you become more than you were the day before. And you do it every day. You get better. Your knowledge, your emotional intelligence, your resiliency, your fitness, your, you know, everything. You're getting better every day. And you wake up in 6 months and you're a different person.
If you look at the Michelangelos, if you look at the Beethovens, if you look at the Shakespeares, if you look at a lot of the great creatives, they weren't working 24/7, 365. They had seasons in the world and seasons in the wilderness. And that's how I work as well. And there's actually a model in the 5 a.m. Club that you know called the twin cycles of elite performance. Yes. And that's actually how I live my life. It's these very intense months where I'm producing and, you know, releasing a lot and doing a lot of videos, etc. And then I pull back to refuel, because I believe, you know, what makes legendary is longevity. And if you want to be in the game a long time, work in bursts of intense work and then pull back and refuel. If you want to get more done, have more vacation. There's even a concept I teach called the 5 great hours. I think the best way you can get more done and own your domain is to work, and this applies to entrepreneurs more than people who might be in corporations, but work 5 hours where you're fully engaged, where it's like sweaty work, where there's no phone, no distraction, and you're literally bringing your primal genius to every minute of that 5 hours. And after that, go out and mountain bike. After that, go take a nap. After that, hang out with your kids. 5 great hours is all you need every day. What I'm suggesting is when you actually get away from work and you're in an art gallery, or you're reading, or you're traveling. There's a lot of emerging science saying when we travel, it promotes our creativity. But when you're actually savoring life, you're actually incubating the ideas that will get you to your next level of work. You look at people, they should be driving and they're texting. You look at a lot of people, they could be doing work that is going to make their fortune and serve the world, and they're addicted to video games. And we all see this. I think the larger point, Michael, is there are a lot of people who aren't present anymore. And one of the greatest gifts you can give your family and your friends, your work, is the gift of being present. So these cyber zombies are the people, and I know you see them, they're the people that you see out there. And they're not really there. I believe the one habit that lifts every other habit is joining the 5 a.m. Club. It's the mother of all habits. It's the DNA. And here's why. If you get that first hour from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, what I call in the book the victory hour, calibrate with the 20-20-20 formula. We can just, long story short, the first 20-minute pocket from 5 to 5:20 is move. Why do you move? Why do you sweat? You release BDNF. It's going to optimize your brain. It's going to release dopamine, which is going to give you that fire in the belly. It's going to reduce cortisol, which is the fear hormone. It's going to increase your metabolic rate, which is going to give you energy. That's why 5 to 5:20, that first pocket of the 20-20-20 formula, is so powerful. 5:20 to 5:40, that second pocket is called what? Reflect. Most of us are busy being busy, but what's the point of climbing mountains in our days only to realize on the last hour of our lives we climbed the wrong mountains? Yeah. So the billionaires I've coached, the NBA superstars I've worked with, the best of the best that I've mentored all have one thing in common: acute levels of clarity. They know exactly where they're going, what they want to stand for. So 520 to 540, you reflect, you write in a journal, you meditate, you pray, you think, you contemplate in a world where most people don't have any time to contemplate. Final pocket of the 20-20-20 formula is grow. Look, all the billionaires have one thing in common. All the superstars, you know what they realized? The master skill of the legends is a commitment to growth. The more you grow in terms of your learning, your confidence, your ability to express your gifts and your talents, the more you grow in terms of reading and learning, the more value you can bring to the world. And the world replies to the value that you bring to the world. So that's the 20, I go into it in much more advanced detail in the book, but that's the 20-20-20 formula. In doing that consistently from 5 to 6 a.m. over time is going to give you, it's going to give you exponential creativity, productivity, performance. But a lot of people don't talk about this. It's also going to give you inner peace. And if you don't have, I've worked with a lot of people who have billions of dollars and the mansions and the private jets, but nothing is more valuable than inner peace and joy in your heart. If you look around the internet, everyone's talking about mindset. I think you'd agree. Mindset is everything, say the Instagram posts. And I say this with a lot of respect. I believe, and I've been at this 22 years, working with elite performers, working with Starbucks and Nike and FedEx and IBM, and it goes on and on. So mindset isn't everything, I don't believe, because you can have a great psychology, but if your heart is broken, or if you're angry, or you're sad or disappointed, and you haven't worked through the toxic emotions in your emotional life, your creativity is going to be blocked, your energy will be low, and your performance will be weak. So in the 5 a.m. Club, there's that model, and I can show your viewers. Everything begins with, that's the core right there.
Bring it in good and close, come to the right and a little bit. And right about there. Perfect.
And the reason why that, I believe, is a transformational model is because all your outer empires, being more creative and productive and prosperous empires, those are all a function of who we are. You're never going to rise higher in the outer world than who you are on the inside in terms of your self-identity, your confidence, the fire in your belly, and your expression of your gifts and talents. So mindset is 25%. Your psychology, yes. Install healthy beliefs. Install the beliefs that you can get big things done. Install the beliefs of relentlessness and grit. Install all those beliefs. That's 25%. The second 25%, the second interior empire, is heart set, this word that I'm introducing. Your heart set, not just your mindset. What's your heart set about? In your journal, processing through past pain, meditating so you release past anger, working perhaps with healers to let go of those lower level toxic emotions so that you have a pure heart, a clean heart, so you work with love, so you're full of gratitude. We know all the research on gratitude. So mindset. But that's only the second interior empire, Michael.
Yeah.
The third, health set, another word I'm introducing. Energy is more valuable than genius.
Repeat that for me, please.
Well, energy is more valuable than genius. There are a lot of geniuses on the planet who don't execute, so they get nothing done. So health set is about working on your nutrition, your rest. There's a chapter on rest in the book. It's about biohacking. It's about exercising. It's about time in nature. All of the things the great productive people do so that they live long and have energy every day. So third interior empire, health set. And then the fourth one, and a lot of people might wonder about this one, but the fourth interior empire of the history makers is actually soul set. Mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. Now, some of your listeners, probably not your listeners or your viewers, but they might say, soul set, that sounds very esoteric, Robin. I thought the 5 a.m. Club was about how to be a great producer. How do you own your domain? How do you change the world? How do you live a world-class life? Well, soul set to me is doing the inner work required to turn down the chattering voice of your ego, which is just your scared self. So you actually reconnect with that natural hero that lives at the core of every human life. Final chapter of the 5 a.m. Club, as you know, it ends in Nelson Mandela's prison cell on Robben Island. So you want to talk about soul set? It's not weak and esoteric and mystical and not relevant. Soul set is what makes heroism. And every single one of your viewers has an opportunity to do the inner work required to re-access that inner hero. So they go out there and do world-class work and build lives that serve society. So those 4 interior empires, it's a lot more than just mindset. If there's only one thing to do for all your viewers, just one thing, because if you do 1,000 things, you're not going to start. One thing, it's focus on getting up, joining the 5 a.m. Club, and then running the 20-20-20 formula. Move, reflect, grow. That is going to galvanize your pharmacy of mastery in terms of your neurobiology. This applies to everyone. We all have this capability in our brain. It's going to increase your energy. It's going to increase your focus. It's going to reduce cortisol, the fear hormone. It's going to allow you, that victory hour process, it's going to allow you to think and meditate and remember who you once were when you were a little child and were full of awe and wonder before the world told you to play small. That reduces all the complexity. And that would be the starting point. And I would say, with great love and respect to your viewers, don't do it for a week, because that's just for a week. That's like saying, this new year, I want to learn Italian. I tried it for a week. I couldn't speak Italian. I guess I'm not the kind of person who can speak Italian. What made Kobe Bryant, or Coco Chanel, they understood that world class and living a gorgeous life is a process. So stay with the 5 a.m. Club process for at least 66 days, which is what the research says is the length of time required to install a new habit to the point of automaticity, where it becomes easier to get up at 5 a.m. than not get up at 5 a.m. If you're not open to trying a new type of food, you might miss your new favorite food. But if someone's not open to trying something new, then you're going to live your life in what I call the safe harbor of the known. And we all know that what makes heroism and what makes a great life is a commitment to continually leaving your safe harbor of your known and going blue ocean. For you to become your next level of yourself, you must experience a death of sorts of your old you. The mystics call it the dark night of the soul. And so what I'm saying is, there are some people who say, well, I could never get up at 5 a.m. I'm saying, well, if you don't try it for 66 days, you'll probably miss the single best new habit that will not only make you more healthy. Getting that first hour right, what I call the victory hour, makes your days consistently better. And if your days are your life in miniature, as you craft each day, you're going to craft your weeks. The weeks become months. The months become quarters. The quarters become years. And so you build your life. So anyone who says, well, I'm a night person, I couldn't get up early, take back your power. Try something new. A lot of us recite our excuses so many times we actually brainwash ourselves to think they're true. The 5 a.m. Club and the Victory Hour, the 20-20-20 formula that I share in the book, it's just a concept to those of your viewers who haven't experienced it. And that's what you and I are talking about right now, to get up before the dawn when most people are not, sending you emails. I mean, why did the great saints, sages, seers, authors, creatives, humanitarians, why did most of them get up between 4 and 6? It's because it is the single best time in the history of humanity and the world and the day to think and to work on yourself. I mean, you get up before the sun. There is such quietude. And in the book, there's a line that's tranquility is the new luxury.
Yeah.
So you get up at 5 and you're right. You get your life back. You can grow. You get time for yourself. You get time to think. You get time to contemplate. You get time to heal. You get time to work out. You get time to write in a journal and to slow things down and to get to know yourself again. To say, wow, my pain helped me. These difficult times served me. Look at all the good in my life. And now it's 6 o'clock, and because you've done that calibrated morning routine, the 20-20-20 formula, you have electrified your neurobiology. You've connected with your spirit. You've worked on your character. You're fundamentally different by 6 o'clock. Of course, you're going to react better during the day and make higher choices.
It's not where I plan to go, but it's just what I hear to call to ask, which is people who say, but my spouse, partner, otherwise won't go to bed early if I don't have their support. How in the world can I do this?
Well, I would simply say, what makes a great relationship is hearing your partner and saying, this is important to me. Okay, no sweat. We're in this for the long term. Let's find a way. What makes a great business is you have a problem and you find a solution. And so I would simply say to any of your listeners who says, well, my spouse doesn't get the 5 a.m. club, or if I get up early, I will wake him or her up. Figure out the routine. Maybe you do it 3 days a week. Maybe there's so many different configurations to do it. The key is to make a commitment and find a solution so you get the benefits of waking up early and having a really strong morning routine. What makes a great life, what makes a hero, what makes a great business is not what you do once a year, it's what you do every day. And so in the book, there's the that model you're referring to is the 4 focuses of history makers.
Yeah.
And that's where the billionaire character teaches the artist and the entrepreneur these 4. And one of them is the day stacking concept, which is your days are your life in miniature. If you can just monomaniacally focus on making great choices in your 24 hours or your 14 hours while you're awake, then you do it consistently. The next day will be the same. It's not always perfect. Then you're going to have great weeks. Great weeks consistently lead to great months, great quarters, great years, great lives. So don't worry about living a great life or even a great day. Get your mornings right. And that's going to take care of the through line to build a great life. A lot of people I'm noticing on the social media, I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook. They're saying, without having read, a lot of people have read the book already. It's been out only a short period of time, but the ones who haven't read the book say, well, the 5 a.m. club, I'd love to have a great morning routine and work on myself and have more time for myself and prepare myself for the day. But it doesn't make sense because we know the science that says the number one factor that reduces your longevity is sleep deprivation. Well, there's a whole chapter in the book called The Essentialness of Sleep. And that's where the billionaire is in the catacombs of Rome. And he gives his mentoring session to the artist and the entrepreneur in the catacombs. And he says, sleep is essential. We know the latest science. I think this is super cool. When you sleep, there is actually a mechanism that washes your brain. We know that muscles are repaired when you sleep. So the 5 a.m. club is about getting at least 7 hours. They said the research says 7 to 9 hours of strong sleep. And there's even a model that explains your your pre-sleep ritual, because your morning ritual depends on your pre-sleep ritual. Some quick tips for your listeners, right? No technology an hour before sleep. Try to take a bath, sleep in a cool room. And the final thing I'd say is keep your exercise gear close to your bed so you hit the ground running. You won't have a world-class morning ritual and be able to join the 5 a.m. club and do the 20-20-20 formula, which is a complete life changer if you haven't slept well. And so that is why that pre-sleep ritual is so important. And you talk about an alarm clock. In the book, I actually encourage an old school alarm clock to wake up at 5 a.m. because it's so profound to sleep in a room without any technology. We all need recovery from technology. And so that old school alarm clock is a great tactic. This morning, I'm no guru. I'm not holding myself out to be anyone special. And yet this morning I got up. It was a relatively cold morning, and I got myself into a soul cycle class, which I love. And, I just sweated it out, and I pushed myself. And when I felt like coasting, I pushed even harder. Why? Because we know from the research that self-discipline and willpower is a lot more like a muscle than we previously realized. So when you do what you're resisting, whether it's getting into a soul cycle class early morning when you don't want to, even joining the 5 a.m. club, you want to stay in a warm bed, putting mind over mattress and getting, right? Putting mind over mattress and getting out of bed. That primary win at the front end of your day is you connecting to your heroism. And there is a payoff right there because you've just built your willpower muscle. And that growth in willpower then carries through to you listening to your children over breakfast. And it then carries through not hitting the horn in traffic, or if you're commuting, reading versus playing with your phone. And it just becomes these series of choices that is like an upward spiral of success to build a beautiful day. But it all starts by doing the things you were resisting to build your willpower.
So when I discovered the magical world of personal growth and development, it opened up my eyes. And I will say this, that is who I am today. I am who I am today because of what I put in my head, what I put in my heart, the people I've met. I'm a student to this day. I'm very excited for my future because of the things I'm learning now. So I don't consider myself done. I'm a restaurant who's under construction and open for business. But Gene Kuhlman gave me the gift of exposing me to personal growth. And there's an Irish phrase that said it was a woman who led me down the road to drink, and I never wrote to thank her. It was Gene Kuhlman who led me down the road to personal growth and development, and I've never been the same. Books, programs, training classes, coaching, audio programs. If you put the good stuff in, the good stuff comes out. And that's where human potential has to get worked out that way. So I think the first thing is a voracious openness to learn. A lot of people have that. It's just for people who are successful, who come here with nothing, it's the first prerequisite. Constant and never-ending improvement. That's what it means. And, there's nothing so attractive as meeting someone who's 85 years of age, who's so full of life because of what they're learning and where they're growing. We had a client sign up for our coaching program years ago, and she called into our company. And I imagine we have tens of thousands of clients and hundreds of employees. And this lady calls in and she goes, I need to speak to Mr. Buffini. Well, a lot of people need to speak to Mr. Buffini. What's it about? Well, I'm thinking of signing up for his coaching program. I'd like to talk to him. Well, let me pass you on to someone who can help you. So we have a whole team of people who help somebody with that. And she goes, young man, I need to speak to Mr. Buffini. You don't understand. My name is Arlene Holt. I'm 80 years of age, and I have a 25-year business plan. And I've heard Mr. Buffini's the man who can get me there.
I love it.
She got through to me. And this woman who went on to become a friend and an inspiration to me, by the way, she had her best year ever in business at 94. She passed at 97. I didn't quite get her to her 105 goal. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you at 80 years of age, she had more life than so many 40-year-olds. She was still looking to the future. And I kid you not, she had her best year ever in her business with her daughter at 94 years of age. And along the way, I learned from her. You know, she gave me so many great inspirational things, just little quips and quotes that she'd learned through her years of wisdom. She said to me, God's arms are not short. She goes, how piteous would it be to have a God with short arms? She goes, God has long arms, and he can reach you. She said, spend money fearlessly for needed things. And I went, okay, because we don't often spend money fearlessly. Mm-hmm. So that's Arlene Holt, the great Arlene Holt. Many people, they encounter a problem or a challenge. Some people will say it's confirmation that I shouldn't be doing this, because somehow obstacles and setbacks are not part of the success process, when in fact they're the only price that's ultimately paid for success. And I think when you're an immigrant, you come in contact with obstacles. You go, okay, I'm going over it. I can't go over it. I'm going under it. Can't go under it. I'm going around it. Can't go around it. I'm going through it. And it's a do whatever it takes. And it's that perseverance, resiliency. Like, there's nothing going to stop me. Now, it's not do whatever it takes in regards to a lack of ethics. Mm-hmm. It's not do whatever it takes by all means, Machiavellian. It is, I'm going to do whatever it takes in order to get the result. I know where I'm trying to go. Here's the challenges I'm faced, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I just think what we have to fight in our culture today is this creeping sense of entitlement, and along with it comes the complaining and also the easy quit muscles. We encounter a problem, things don't go well, and we give up, and it's, well, and then we have excuses, or those kinds of things. And I'm not you just suck it up from your bootstraps. I'm a very empathic guy. I'm a compassionate guy. But at the end of the day, I'm a do whatever it takes guy. You have that mindset, do whatever it takes. And it's like, so what happened? Here's the benefits. When we went into the recession, we had 27 competitors. Mm-hmm. When we came out of the recession, there was us and one other. And now our business is stronger and bigger than it ever was, because people know you were there for us when times were hard. We trust you. We believe you guys. You have our best interest at heart. You didn't abandon us when things got tough. And now we have twice the market share we used to have. So do whatever it takes pays off. And I could give 100 examples of that. Like you said, it's a whole show. Opportunity comes dressed in overalls and looks a lot like work. In our world today, what's happened is people have invented an app. One of the founders of Instagram is a personal friend of myself and my brother. And so, people come along and, this guy developed an app, and then he sold it for $17 billion, and now he's on an island in Aruba. Now, none of that is true, by the way. It's a heck of a lot of work. But the perception is those guys have got it figured out, and the rest of us are working stiffs. Mm-hmm. To me, the concept of outworking others is be extremely present wherever you are. When I'm working, like right now, I'm with you. I am with you. I'm with you here, and I'm nowhere else. I'm learning from you. I'm enjoying our time together. We're together. We're trying to serve your audience. This is beautiful, but I'm fully present here. Now, when I go to my girls' game tonight, I will be fully present with them. And so a willingness to outwork others is that, work comes dressed in overalls and looks like a lot like work. Thomas Edison. The big thing for people is to understand their seasons. When I built this company, I was doing 179 seminars a year, a lot of time away from home. And I worked very hard to serve my clients, to build a business. The next year was 150. The next year was 120. Eventually, to the point this year, I'll do 8. So I'm very big in having that balance, but there's seasons of life you go through. And so you got to be willing to put the time in. It's not going to be handed to you. It's an American dream. It's not an American entitlement. You have to pursue it. A person becomes who they are because of the adversity they face in their life. And sometimes they then try to eliminate all adversity from the children's life. And it's not about artificially creating adversity. There's plenty of adversity in somebody's life. It's going to find you. But I think this whole dynamic of that willingness to outwork others is there's a sense of urgency because you don't have a safety net. And sometimes if we have too much of a safety net, we have no sense of urgency. So it's an important thing to understand. The dynamic is, finding that purpose and finding that passion. And I go, the word passion comes from a Greek word, paseo, which means to suffer. And what are you willing to suffer for? And what is important enough to you? And here's the thing: it doesn't mean you're going to find that. It usually means you're going to eliminate that. It's a process of elimination, not selection. It's not like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to have this business that coaches and trains people all over the world. I'm going to do seminars in front of convention centers all over the world. That was never on my radar. It was, I did this, I enjoyed this, and it led me to the next, and it led me to the next. And your tomorrow builds on your today. And so you don't necessarily discover your passion as much as you do uncover your passion. Anybody who wants to leave one place and move to another. So anybody who sets a goal, by very nature, is an immigrant. They want to leave this and go to get there. I'm here and I want to get there. I'm here now in bad health. I want to get to great health. I'm here in poverty. I want to get to economic success. I'm here in bad relationships. I want to get to good relationships. Well, one of the ways to get you there is remember where you came from in that process, but ultimately have a spirit of gratitude that what you have now is a gift.
Yeah.
And so it's this development of our character, virtues they used to call it. They didn't call it character, call it virtue. Cicero said that gratitude was not just the greatest of all virtues, it was the parent of all others. Well, America's first millionaire was Benjamin Franklin. And he said if a person will take their purse and invest it in their head, it's the investment that pays the greatest dividend and no one can ever take it from you. An investment in knowledge is the greatest investment. So the first thing I believe people need to do is invest in themselves. The great Gene Kuhlman exposed me to that. That was a revolutionary thought for me. And by the way, in order to invest in yourself, you have to value yourself. You do
That's
some coaching,
a toughie
right?
for people, yeah.
Right? You do some coaching. Well, a coach, by its very definition, was a device to take a person of value from where they are to where they want to be. That's the original definition. If you think of those carriages that had 4 horses in front of them.
I love it.
A person must value themselves in order to invest in themselves. A person must believe. I've asked every audience I've ever spoken to, how many of you believe you have untapped potential? And every hand goes up in the air. Now, on one hand, it's great that they do that, but on the other hand, what an indictment. Like, you get to die with potential, it dies with you. So you have to value yourself and then put the good stuff into your mind and heart. If you're living on social media, if you're listening right now to the news 24-hour cycle where they make their living by cranking up hysteria all the time. There's current events as we're speaking that are very, very dramatic, whatever else. And here's how I view it. There's 330 million people in America, and there's 4,000 people involved in that. And the airwaves are filled with branding the entire country with those 4,000 people. And I just choose not to participate in it. And I'm putting the good stuff in. So the first thing is an investment in yourself. The second thing is invest in your vocation. And then the third thing is investing in those things that you know. So I'm a big disciple of Warren Buffett, and I believe in investing in what I know. And so you've got to be bold to invest. So here it is. I'm 30 years in business. I'm in a spot for the last 15 years where I haven't needed to work. I am on the cusp of making probably the largest in financial investments I've ever made in my own company because I'm very excited about the future because of where I'm going and growing to. And so that's an attitude that many, many successful immigrants have, and that's why they've gone on from success to success. So you have to be willing to invest. You got to be willing to be bold. You got to be willing to take it on a little, manage your risk, not calculated risks, not whims and flights of fancy. Brian Tracy, one of my friends, said you have to have the ability to discipline yourself to delay gratification in the short term so that you can have the bigger rewards in the long term. If you remember the old Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, Veruca Salt. I don't care how, I want it now. Well, if you plant seeds in the ground and you pull them up in 3 days, don't expect a harvest. And we all know that, but we live in this fast-paced world, so we think we can. But the bottom line is that everything takes time. Everything is about the law of the harvest. And you have to delay gratification. And if you will do that and discipline yourself, if you will live within your means economically, for example, and continue to invest over time, you will win. It's not an if matter of if. You will win. if you'll invest in your customers, if you'll invest in your relationships, you'll invest in yourself, and you're willing to delay the gratification of needing the results right away, it'll show up. So you have to be willing to delay gratification. And that comes in your personal life, that comes in your business. And then if you do that, you'll get the big success long term.
Well, above the age of 17 or 18, I realized if I wanted to change things, I had to change myself. And then at the age of 20, I had probably my greatest turning point when I realized that I was completely responsible for my own life. And I found that every single successful person starts to be successful after that point. They realize, I'm responsible. This is my life. Nobody's coming to the rescue. And until that, they blame others and they make excuses and they hold back and they complain and they criticize. But after you decide to accept responsibility, your whole life changes. Well, a friend of mine in selling said, did you know that the top 20% of salespeople earn 80% of the money? And I said, I'd never heard that before. He said, oh yeah, it's a pretty common principle in sales. And I said, well, if that's the case, then I want to be in the top 20%. And as you said, because I found then that if you commit to getting into the top 20% and you just keep working at it, there's nothing that can stop you from achieving it. But if you don't commit to getting into the top 20%, you automatically default to average and you'll never accomplish anything in life. And so I began studying this. I read 6,000 books. You can see all these books behind me. This is a fraction of the books in my home. And I've read most of them. But what we find is that every successful person is successful because they make a decision to be very excellent at what they do. And they work at it sometimes for years before they achieve that. You've heard of the 10,000-hour principle that was identified by Pears and Anders Ericsson. Mm-hmm. Actually, that was discussed 25 years ago. And the decision is 100% up to you because anybody can get into the top 20% if they decide to. Well, anyway, so that was the turning point for me. I decided to get into the top 20%. And then I looked up and I found there were no barriers. It was an open field. There's nobody stopping you. So I say to my audiences, I say, there's only one person who can stop you from being in the top 20%. Now, who would that be? And the whole audience gets it instantly. They point to themselves. It would be me. That's right. So don't let yourself hold yourself back. Clarity is probably 95% of success. I teach it almost like a fundamental religion. And you start off by asking, being clear, who are you? I mean, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then what do you want to accomplish with your life? And so we start off with real simple questions, like if you had no limitations, if you had all the money and time that you needed, if you had all the opportunities and contacts, is what would you ideally want to accomplish in your life? And so then we take people through a goal-setting exercise, which is exactly the first chapter in the book, Master Your Time, Master Your Life. Because until you're absolutely clear about where you want to end up, then, as they say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Mm-hmm. To be successful, you have to identify the skills that you're going to have to be at the top sometime in the future. Yep. Because you cannot achieve anything more than you're achieving today at your current level of skills and knowledge. So you have to decide it. And then then you have to decide your goals. And what they said was this, is if you're absolutely clear about your future vision, then your current decision making is very easy. It's very easy to make decisions in the moment if you're crystal clear about where you want to be in 3 to 5 years. And how do you do that? You just make sure that everything that you're doing today is consistent with where you want to be in the future. And I teach this to people, and they just sit there shaking their heads. And they said, that is so simple. So you get up in the morning, you plan your day, and you start on your most important task, and you stay at it till it's done. And then you do the next important task. You stay at that till it's done. If all you did was 3 important tasks each day, mm-hmm. you'd be one of the highest performing and highest paid people in your field, whatever your field is. There's 3 learning modalities that a person has. There's visual, mm-hmm. There's auditory, and there's kinesthetic. And when you write down a goal, you activate your visual because you see it. You activate your auditory because you actually sub-vocalize it when you write it down. And it's kinesthetic, so you're doing it physically. As a result of all 3 of these, this goal drops straight into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind accepts it as a command and then begins working on it 24 hours a day. And I've worked with people that have been absolutely astonished. They've heard about writing down goals for years, and they've never done it. I said, just write it down. And within 7 days, I promise you, your life will change. So some really big goals take much longer to accomplish, but they are continuing to grow, and all the powers of nature are working on the goals. The law of attraction is activated. Mm-hmm. You start to attract ideas and insights and people, resources and money. It's the most astonishing thing. but only 3% of adults will write down their goals. You write down your goals from memory. And what happens is your goal definition changes and your order of priority changes. And new goals pop up and other goals drop off. I say they do this for 31 days. People come back to me and said that exercise gave me more success than 3 years of coaching at $25,000 a year. I made more money in the last 90 days with that simple exercise than anything I've ever done. I said, of course, it's like a miracle. Make a list of everything you have to do before you start. Mm-hmm. The very act of making a list, on a piece of paper like this will make you rich. Yeah. So what I do is you make a list, and then before you start, you go over the list and you divide it into 5 categories, A, B, C, D, E. Now, an A is what is called a must task. And one of the most important words in time management or in life management or in success is the word consequences. Consequences. So something is important if it has big potential consequences for your life. Something is unimportant if it has low or no consequences. What is the reason for success and failure? Successful people focus on those activities that have the largest potential consequences. What do unsuccessful people do? They waste their time on things that have low or no consequences, but they're fun and they're easy and they're enjoyable. And whatever you do consistently becomes a habit. You say an A task is a task that you must do. If you don't do this, there's going to be serious potential consequences for your boss, for your banker, for your bills, this is important. So that's an A task, and you write an A next to it. And then your B tasks are things that you should do. They have mild consequences. Get back to certain emails and call your friend and so on. You should do these, but they have mild consequences and nowhere near as important as A task. Mm-hmm. C task is a task that has no consequences. Whether you do it or not do it, it makes no difference at all. D is delegate. And the rule is delegate everything you possibly can rather than doing it yourself. You only have a certain amount of time, and you cannot spend the time doing low-value, no-value tasks. And if you do it repeatedly, it becomes a habit. It becomes easier to do than not to do. When you work. And then when you take time off, and don't mix them up. The worst thing you can do, by the way, is to stay on your damn computer all weekend long. I think, well, I'll just catch up with this, and I'll catch up with that, catch up with this. There's a little button here. It's called the off button. What you do is you turn the damn thing off and leave it off. Check it. If you're going to go on a weekend, check it 2 or 3 times a day. Turn it on, check it, turn it off. Don't have it continually buzzing, because almost every buzz is spam. Meditation enables you to calm your mind. Some people are not meditators. I'm not. People say, do you teach meditation? No, I don't. But I do teach contemplation. Mm-hmm. Because I think meditation, your eyes are closed. Contemplation, your eyes are open. Contemplation and solitude is where you sit perfectly quietly for 30 or more minutes, completely quietly in an environment where there's no distractions, no music, no coffee, no nothing. You just sit totally still for 30 minutes or more. And what that happens is your whole mind calms completely, and then your mind begins to flow. You know all about this. I think contemplation is the greatest spiritual practice of all.
When I have people work on their creativity, their spirituality wakes up. So I have come to think of creativity and spirituality as being intertwined, like dancing partners. And when we do morning pages, what happens is that the voice of the critic becomes something like a cartoon character, maybe from Charlie Brown, the little character that always has the buzzing flies. So the critic, I call my critic Nigel. Mm-hmm. And Nigel is, in my imagination, a gay British interior decorator. Because with morning pages, you keep your hand moving across the page. Mm-hmm. And you don't pause to take what I call a mental cigarette break. Instead, you keep going. And as you keep going, Nigel's voice becomes sort of thinner and tinnier. And you realize you may not be able to get rid of Nigel entirely, mm-hmm. but you can make fun of Nigel. And when you do, he backs off. 40 minutes when we first wake up before our ego's defenses are in place. Mm-hmm. So that's a perfect window to write morning pages in.
Do we have to do this in the morning?
Oh, yes, Michael. We do them first thing in the morning because what we're trying to do is set a track through our day. Mm-hmm. So we write them first thing in the morning, and they sort of prioritize our day. And I sometimes call them a radical codependency withdrawal, because when you write on the page what your plans and hopes and dreams are for the day, you keep yourself from being swept up in other people's agendas. Sort of draw into yourself, into your core, your own energies again. When people say, can't I do them at night? I'm so much more articulate late at night. I say, you may be articulate, but you're writing about a day that you've already had, mm-hmm. and you're powerless to change. So do it first thing in the morning, because that way you sort of set your track for the day.
You have to be in a positive mindset to do this.
Absolutely not. Very often I don't want to do my morning pages. Mm-hmm. I'm grumpy, and I really want to skip ahead into my day. But what I have found is that you don't need to be in the mood for morning pages. You just need to have the commitment in place. And one of the things I want to say is that if you do morning pages and you're miniaturizing your critic, remember, what happens is that you're learning to do what I call dropping down the well into your creative flow, mm-hmm. into contact with your greater self. And when you do this, what happens is that you are able to do your other work much more freely, because you've trained your critic to stand aside, mm-hmm. And to just sort of squeak at you. And so if you do morning pages, then when you try to turn to your, quote, real work later in the day, you'll find that you're able to dive directly in. If you persist in telling people that the pages are preventing negativity, you ignore the fact that you are, in fact, going to be getting some really good ideas. Mm-hmm. And so what happens, I think, with morning writing is that you write for a while, and the writing will suggest a risk, and you'll think, I can't do that. Yeah. And then you'll write a little further, and the writing will suggest the risk again. And you'll think, I think it's too hard to do that. And you keep on writing, and what happens is that when the writing suggests the risk again, you finally say, all right, I'll try it. And the attitude of, all right, I'll try it, mm-hmm. leads you into risk. Because you have the morning pages as a sort of safety net, yeah. and they are a companion to you as you take a risk. And that means that I tend to wake up once the sun is up. And so I work in my living room. I have a window that looks out at the mountains. Yeah. And my morning pages always begin, hello, I'm in the living room. The mountain is hazy today, or the mountain is clear today. So I do a little bit of a flora and fauna report. Yeah. There's a bird. Oh, goody, there's a flicker. What a wonderful bird with checkered plumage. I hope it stays.
What is an exercise, a morning pages exercise of writing down things you love?
This is something that I do usually at night. Mm-hmm. After my friends are all tucked in bed and it's too late to call anybody, yeah. I start numbering and listing things that I love. and I usually get up to about 50.
Wow.
And they're everything from rhubarb pie to black bean soup to pinon trees. I love coyotes.
Oh, I had a coyote or she had me, pumpkin, 2/3 coyote mix from the Navajo reservation for over 17 years.
Oh boy. So you know what I mean.
Oh my God, do I know what you mean.
After I list everything that I love, I read the list. And what happens is that it makes me centered. And it makes me feel I'm not alone. So I think that the habit of, in a 12-step program, they would call it a gratitude list. I call it a list of joys and loves.
Now, do you write that list? You have your list of 50 joyous things before you go to bed. When do you do this list of 25 things you're proud of?
It's sort of a check-in because if I'm writing things I'm proud of, it points me in the directions that I want to go. It's sort of like a distillate of morning pages.
Yep.
So, for example, I write, I'm proud that I wrote 2 musicals. And then comes the question, are you writing music now? Why not? So the list of things I'm proud of is actually a list of my values.
Can morning pages help you? It challenges you to write again, or to make more screenplays, or to become a better version of yourself. Can it help you organize and prioritize so that it's not throwing a whole kitchen sink at you at once?
Well, I think this is what we mean when we say it's a tough love friend. It brings up the arena you need to work on, and it will nag. So if it's a question like, why aren't you writing screenplays? It'll be coming up as, wouldn't it be fun to try to write a screenplay? Gee, I haven't written a screenplay in 20 years. Well, does that really matter? Why don't you try it?
What's the importance of being gentle to ourselves?
Well, this is where I think we should bring up another tool.
Please do.
We brought up morning pages. We've said there are 3 pages of longhand morning writing that you are doing every day no matter what. Then I say, well, once a week, I'd like you to take an artist date, which is a solo, festive expedition to do something that enchants you. And when people are able to understand working on their creativity and they're working on the morning pages, but they're very threatened when I say, now I want you to play. And what I find is that when you take an artist date, you awaken a sense of wonder, and you awaken a loving self. And I often say, imagine that you're a child of divorce, and your artist date is your chance to be led by a benevolent elder.
Is there one third tool you'd want to share with people, or a homework assignment you would want to give people to start working on today?
One of the things I have people do is number from 1 to 10 and list 10 things they love doing. Then I say, now go back to the top of the list, and I want you to write the date of the last time you let yourself do that. And we often find that we know things we love, but we don't allow ourselves to do it.
Wow.
So I urge people to begin to allow themselves to be kind.
If you like this video and you want to learn more about the law of attraction, come join us for our YouTube live event every Sunday night here on YouTube. simply click the subscribe button and the bell icon below. We'll take a deep dive into one key concept of manifestation and the law of attraction each week, not only to help you with money, but with health, with wealth, with abundance, with success, and with happiness. So again, simply subscribe below. Click on that bell icon to be notified of our next upcoming YouTube live event. If you like this, check out more amazing law of attraction and manifestation shows. Simply click here, subscribe below, big thumbs up if you like this. Leave your comments. Love you guys so, so much. Shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys. Automatic writing is perhaps the most cutting-edge tool for connecting with the other side, which is why we've written the definitive guide called the Automatic Writing Experience. To find out more, simply visit automaticwriting.com. It's my favorite way to help you to shine bright. Woohoo!